asks that, can a woman be a head of state or prime minister or president of any country? There is not a single verse of the Quran that I am aware which says that woman cannot be a head of state. However, since Islam considers man to be the leader of the house, therefore, the head of the state should be a man. It is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 9, the book of Fitan, chapter number 18, hadith number 7099, that Abu Bakr Razallahu Ta'ala Anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that when the Prophet, peace upon him, heard that the Persian had appointed the daughter of Khusru as the queen, as their leader, then the Prophet, peace upon him, said that never will succeed such a nation who will make their woman as their leader. Some scholars are of the view that this is only for a particular time, that means only for applicable at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. Whereas vast or majority of the scholars are of the view that this hadith is in general, that the woman should not be the head of state. Let's try to analyze the pros and cons of a woman being the head of state in today's time. Point number 1, the head of the state has to lead the congregational prayers, and a woman cannot be an imam because during salah, during prayer, there are various postures, positions to be adopted, such as qiyam, ruku, sujood, that is standing, bowing, prostrations. And if a woman is leading the prayer and men standing behind, is bound to create disturbances and distractions. Point number 2, that the head of the state very often has to meet and interact with other heads of state who are usually men. Many a time, the head of state has to have private closed-door meetings, and Islam does not permit a woman to be alone with a male, that is non-mahram, except a male except her brother, her husband, her father-in-law, her son-in-law, and Islam does not permit intermingling of opposite sexes. Because the Prophet, peace upon him, said that when a man and a woman are alone in closed door room, then the third person is Satan, the devil. Point number 3, that there is usually a lot of media exposure of the head of state. Photographs and video recordings are regularly taken, and the head of state has to stay in physical proximity with other males dignitaries, and which involve handshaking, etc. And the Prophet, peace upon him, said that if a man touches non-mahram or woman, then that part will be in the hellfire. Point number 4, the head of the state has to meet regularly men and women to attend to them and try to solve their problems. Point number 5, if a woman gets pregnant, then she has to take rest for at least a few months, during which she will not be able to perform her duties as the head of state. Point number 6, that during menstrual cycle, there are certain mental, psychological and behavioral changes that take place in women due to release of sex hormones or estrogen. Point number 7, according to medical science, women generally perform better than men in vocal and verbal skills, irrespective of the level of estrogens. Men perform better in spatial relationships, which is the ability to see or imagine objects in space. For example, to think in advance how a building or project will turn out. And the decisions of the leaders are mainly related to spatial relationships, and verbal, vocal, and other skills of a woman are very important for her as a mother to raise a child. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given an age of a woman over man. That means here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given women an age over men. And this study was done by two psychologists of Canada, both of whom were women, Dr. Doreen Kimura and Elizabeth Hampson. And this report was also published in New York Times on November 1988. Point number 8, that if she has children, then her responsibility as a mother is more important than as a head of a state. Therefore, I'm more inclined towards the view of those scholars who say that the woman should not be the head of a state. However, this does not mean that women cannot take active parts in politics. She can, that means she can vote as well as take part in law making. And during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, most of the people were disturbed, and it was the wife of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Salma raziyallahu ta'ala anha, may Allah be pleased with her. She advised and supported Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The prime ministers are very important person in our country. Many times, advisors and personal assistants are the ones that shape the decision and have greater influence.